thing that parents could benefit with the program is just having someone here for you, especially for first-time parents. It can be very isolating and it can be very lonely, and having the home visitor changes that and it feels very good.
For me, having a home visitor is like having a second mom there.
A lot has changed. I'm definitely more knowledgeable taking care of her. And I know that anytime I need advice or help from somebody, I can just call her.
It's just that little positive nudge to, hey, I'm noticing something, let's find a way how to change it. And she's like, you know what, Amanda, let's pick you up, dust you off, and let's go over to, see about either getting your driver's license or seeing about, going to college, see if we can start something for you.
It's totally worth it. Like, even if you're on the fence at first, you don't feel like having a stranger coming in your house and teaching you about your little one, do it anyway. You get the help that you need. You get professional advice on things you may not know about your child. The fact that the program has no fees or anything, it's all totally free, is fantastic.
Yo creo que si conozco a alguien que está próxima a ser mamá, lo primero que haría sería recomendarle el programa, porque te entrega mucho apoyo, mucha información y más que nada como apoyo emocional, una guía, te da una visión diferente de cómo es ser papá aquí, quizás en este país.
Y así pues es un bonito programa, porque pues es buena persona la señora y los ha atendido muy bien.
Pensé que nada más iba a ser un programa de orientación quizás para los nuevos padres, pero creo que nos llevamos una linda sorpresa porque Gaby es una persona muy cercana a nosotros, es como parte de nuestra familia, siempre ha estado dispuesta a ayudarnos y a escucharnos con nuestras dudas sobre la paternidad, y en nuestro caso, que estamos solos en este país, ha sido como de mucha ayuda.
Es un gran apoyo para nuevos padres, y más aún si están en nuestra situación, que somos extranjeros, que nuestra familia y amigos, como dice Carla, están en otro país, lejos. Entonces sí, viene muy bien el programa para apoyarse tanto emocional y como anímicamente, y bueno, en varios aspectos del programa que nos ayuda a seguir adelante con esta nueva aventura.
Te ayuda como a ver los distintos recursos que tiene la comunidad para nuevos papás, entonces creo que es de gran ayuda.
No queda mucho que agregar, pero lo veo de la misma forma.
Que hemos aprendido algunas cosas aquí y pues los han ayudado, como este programa los ha ayudado para seguir creciendo a la bebé, como con buenos consejos y así.
Sí, y creo que también ha sido muy importante el tema de apoyarnos con el libro y saber qué actividades hacer con Máximo de acuerdo a su edad, cómo estimularlo, cómo cuidarlo de los peligros de la casa, como cosas que uno como papá nuevo no conoce, claro.
Pues a mí me gustaría que lo siguiéramos visitando aquí en la biblioteca de Covelo. Está tranquilo y muy bonito aquí.
Cuando no nos podemos reunir, nos comunicamos por Zoom o
una llamada telefónica o por texto.
Donde nos visite, porque ha sido nuestra casa. A veces nosotros vamos a Willits y puede ser en el parque. Gaby llega, como hacemos un resumen de cómo ha ido nuestra semana o qué hemos hecho de nuevo, cómo va el trabajo. Luego hacemos las actividades del libro. Vemos si podemos hacer
2024 Local Agency Formation Commission meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Thank you and good morning. Commissioner Ward.
Here.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Present.
Commissioner Cole.
Here.
Horsley.
Here.
Commissioner McGorty. Commissioner Roden.
Crane in her absence.
Thank you. Commissioner Kristen. Commissioner Hashik. We do have a quorum.
Thank you. This time, I would like to call for public expression. The Commission welcomes participation in the LAFCO meeting. Any person may address the Commission on any subject within the jurisdiction of LAFCO, which is not on the agenda. There is a 3-minute time limit, and no action will be taken at this meeting. Are there any members of the public that are online that wish to comment on non-agendized items? You can use the Zoom feature to raise your hand or press *9 to unmute if you're using a telephone. Seeing none and having no items for number 3, other business. For number 4, the consent calendar, I'm going to pull item 4E for additional discussion. That's resolution 232404, approving the corrected annexation map and description for the Ukiah Valley Fire District annexation. For items 4A, 4B, 4C, and 4D, I'd be looking to the commissioners for any questions or comments on those items.
I'd like to pull 4B and 4C.
Okay. I don't see any other commissioners, and just a reminder that you can use the highlighters in your drawers or on your table to identify that you have questions or comments. Commissioner Ward?
You don't want to go first?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Horsley, do you also have questions on the items 4A through 4D?
Yes.
Okay. Well, why don't we start with Commissioner Ward with his questions or comments, and then we'll go to Commissioner Horsley.
Okay. I did want to talk about 4E as well. So
We're going to talk about that separately.
So we'll wait for your so I'll start with, I had some questions, Uma, on the lease agreement with the city again. Can we, I think it's important we go over that again. You and I have talked about it already, about the COLA increases and why we went from 5 to 1 year, 3 years. I forget how we decided.
Yes, we had approved a 5-year lease with the Ukiah Valley Conference Center, so with the city of Ukiah for use of our office space. At our last meeting, before it went to signature, the city manager had revised or looked again at the rates for the rental of the space in the conference center. And they determined that the 3.1% increase that they had given us a break on for a 5-year lease was not something that would cover their costs, so they revised that to a 5% increase annually. And that's in the lease that is before us today, so this is a revised item for consideration.
My point was that they wanted 5% for the next 5 years, and I just felt that, yeah, inflation is probably high now. We've been operating under 3% for years, but why would we agree to 5% 4 or 5 years from now when inflation could be going down, hopefully, by next year? So that was only my concern, was maybe looking at something that was a little easier. I know we're only talking small dollars here, but it just, the idea of having 5% 3 or 4 years from now is thought might be too high. That's the reason I brought it up.
Okay, I'd like to take Commissioner's comments on item 4C. So Commissioner Horsley?
Yeah, I had the same concern. And, you know, it's small, but if you keep adding up, year after year after year, it's not that small. So I would question, I understand right now, but I would question the number of years at that rate.
Okay, thank you. That's all I had on that. Did you want to add
Yeah,
something?
Executive Officer Hinman?
Sure, I just wanted to add that our past contracts with the City of Ukiah for that space have also been at 5% annual. So it is consistent with that. They were initially offering a small break from the 5% to the 3.1 for that 5-year lease, rather than a 2 or 3. So I just wanted to add that clarification.
Well, I recall being 3% several years ago when we first did that. We've had three lease agreements with them. It keeps expiring and renewing, but I think the original one was 3%. Here nor there, I just wanted to bring it up, for the attention of the commission. I had a question on South Fork Consulting. They did some work for you for the water district. Can you explain what they did?
Sure. We were having, in order to speed up the work plan and get some of the studies through to the workshop stage, we were having staff capacity issues. So I did bring on a consultant to help us move that through. So she's providing an initial review of those studies to help us get them to the next stage. That's what her time is for.
Are you going to continue to use them?
We are, as they are available. She had limited availability, so we're using her as we can.
Then on Marcia Birch, her invoice for our portion of $1,260. There were 2 items in here for the Anderson Valley CSD. Would that be more of an application than our responsibilities?
So her role was really to provide kind of information about the tax share process and LAFCO's role in that process. So while it was for the Anderson Valley CSD's application, it was also for the other tax share agreements, and I'm happy to ask Commissioner Chair Mulhern to weigh in on that as well, since she was there. But we kind of took the stance that it was an overall process that we were working with the auditor's office on.
Yeah, I would say that was the, I guess, general direction or conversation during the meeting. It was, we have an acting auditor, controller, treasurer, tax collector, and the executive office had some team members that were involved, as well as county council. So it was more of a general discussion about how the tax sharing agreements might work, and not, while Anderson Valley was in the room and having the conversation as well, it was, I would say, as the director described it, more of a general was going to work.
So it'll be more of a general, not specifically for Anderson Valley, in general. So when I saw Anderson Valley, I just thought that was specifically.
Commissioner Horsley?
I had the same question, but just wondered LAFCO's role in the tax agreement.
It was limited to process. Since it is a county process, we were just providing facilitation of the meeting to move the tax share process forward for the applications that we have, and that includes Anderson Valley CSD as well as Elk CSD. We're still waiting for tax share agreements for those 2 projects in particular.
So did you feel that participation in that did help?
Yes, I believe so. It was, yes. We've had several, well, at least 2 meetings to facilitate the discussion. And then we provide LAFCO's both perspective and kind of the tail end of what LAFCO needs from that process in order to complete the processing of the application.
Thank you.
Commissioner Crane?
There's another component regarding the rental at the conference center, and that is energy costs have moved dramatically. And so with energy costs being part of the rent situation, city's going to be playing catch up on that because the cost of energy to the utilities going up dramatically. That wasn't factored in the previous rates. It makes it not just the space, but the conditioning of the space, the lights, etc. Made a big jump.
Thank you. And just for the record, Commissioner Christian is here, and for the also for the board and any people watching, we are on items 4A, 4B, 4C, and 4D, currently taking questions or comments from the commission. Commissioner Ward, did you have?
I have more.
You finished?
All right.
Okay.
Make up for last meeting, we were so short. Fiverr, that's for our logo. Where are we at now? That was $126. What are we at year to date for that logo?
So we have the logo was approved by the commission, and so what we're working on now is development of the design guidelines and the letterhead design.
No, I'm talking about the cost.
Oh, the cost. That is the cost.
I know, but what's the year-to-date cost for it? We just spent 126. I think we spent some last month or the month before. Where are we at now?
I did not. I held the costs for the logo. This is the first bill to
the
first
bill
for Fiverr. Yeah, however you say it. I'm sorry, Fiverr. Yeah, for the logo.
Do you anticipate more bills?
There won't be any more for the logo.
Good. Okay, on page 10, you have your invoice, and you go through basically what basic services include, what you did for the month. And I'm just curious, you always put in there, respond to public inquiries and research requests. Can you give me a flavor of what that is? It seems like every month you're doing it. How often do you do it?
We have at least a couple of information requests a week. There are calls. We get a call from South Coast Fire Protection District, who is interested in considering annexing, similar to what the Anderson Valley CSD is doing. So we have a little research and conversations with them on that. Calls from South Coast folks who are interested in establishing a recreation and park district that is separate from the Mendocino Coast Recreation and Park District. So again, research and discussion with them on that. Mostly it's from member agencies.
Okay. Yeah, I've been meaning to ask him previously because it seems like it's every month you provide that information, and I was just curious, so what kind of inquiries you get, because you're not there a lot, you know. I mean, as far as, you know, full-time or anything, but.
The phone rolls into my cell phone, so when we're not in the
I
office,
see. Okay.
it is constant.
And there was a lot of public inquiries and research requests, and you had some from legal counsel. You talked to legal counsel about outside agency services. Then you coordinated with the city of Fort Bragg and the city of Willits on those outside services. At what point do they become an application as opposed to your basic services? Continuing to use your staff time to deal with these issues and not have it come out of an application fee?
Generally, like a rough estimate is an hour of our time, and then we often say that if you need additional research or would like more detailed information or something in writing, then we recommend the pre-application.
Do you spend a lot of time on it? I mean, obviously it's in your hours here for the city of Fort Bragg and Willits. At what point does it turn into an application for outside?
For the city of Willits, we met with city staff, with the Public Works Department, to discuss what the State Water Board was asking of them and what the LAFCO process would be for that and when that kicks in. So I would say that was probably a couple of hours worth of time between the meeting and some research. For the city of Fort Bragg, we've identified some issues with the out-of-agency services that are being provided around the city, so it has taken a considerable amount of staff time to work with the city staff and try to develop some GIS mapping of the issues that we've identified, and then trying to work with city staff on how best to approach those.
The reason I bring it up is because in our budget today, we're talking about we're increasing basic services for you out of our budget. And I'm just trying to make sure that these applications take care of it rather than our basic service revenues or expenses, minimize them as well. The last one was what coordination did you have with Sonoma Water Agency with Guala?
Part of the discussion for the Gualala CSD is where the suitable sphere of influence will be for that district. That district does provide some outside agency services to areas in Sonoma County, including the Gualala Point State Park, or Regional Park, excuse me, which is a county park, and the north zone of Sea Ranch, which is a developed community down in Sonoma County. So we reached out to Sonoma LAFCO and to see what their ideas and thoughts were on extending the sphere of influence to include those areas that are being served by Gualala CSD, and have had discussions with Sonoma Water Agency, who has a special, manages the sanitation zone for Sea Ranch. So that's the coordination that's happening, and it's taking quite more time than we had anticipated, which is why Gualala CSD is not on workshop today.
So we didn't have an MSR for Guala Water.
We had in 2015, I believe, was the last sphere of influence update for the.
Why didn't we talk about it then, do you think?
It was discussed. There are recent changes and ideas afoot down in Sonoma County for how best to serve Sea Ranch development, what we're trying to capture in our study.
Even though it's technically not in Mendocino County.
Correct.
That's going to be interesting. Okay, that's all I had. Thanks for indulging.
Thank you. Commissioner Horsley, we're on items 4A, 4B, 4C, and 4D.
Thank you. Thank you for asking 3 of my questions, Jerry. On page 8, the LAFCO apportionments, there's 100,000 showing in April. What was that for?
The way our apportionments work is they are collected by the auditor's office and then held in the county treasury. And as we need to withdraw to our checking account, then we request a check periodically to cover our expenses.
So the 300,000 showing total, that isn't, that's 25,000 more than we had budgeted for agencies.
Those are the withdrawals that have come from the county treasury, but we had left over from last fiscal year that remained in the treasury. That's why it's more than the 275,000 in apportionment for this year.
And then under office expense, there's, in the rent, there's a $930 charge twice. Why is that above the 500?
Sorry, I'll have to look at that one. It's too small on the thing.
Hey, my eyes are getting tough.
Let me be specific. September and February. Instead of 555, it's 900.
Yes, so so it would be 555 for our office space, and then the additional, the difference is for the use of the chambers. I believe it was 375 off the top of my head.
The city council?
No, for the board chambers. We pay rent for, or a usage fee for the board chambers.
Oh, okay.
And those are billed by, at half year, basically.
Okay.
It might just be good to note that specifically because they're not going to the same agency.
Okay.
Or, then
Yeah.
the commissioners won't have questions
That's
in the
just-
future or as we talk about the budget and how we're organizing the bookkeeping.
Okay.
And then I did have a further question on your basic services. the number of hours that you spent were extraordinary compared to normal months. What was there something in particular that basically raised it so high, or was it a multitude of things?
We've spent quite a bit of time on updating the outside agency policy and working through that, and we held a working group meeting with representatives from some of our member agencies. So preparation for that, and through working with legal counsel on updating the policy language from our last meeting. And then the budget development took quite a bit of time. And that I had put in here that the Fort Bragg city, working with the city of Fort Bragg has taken time to work through the data that they were able to provide and kind of come up with the next steps for how to work through those issues with them.
Are those policies coming together? Are they getting close to being completed?
They are. We are scheduling a policies and procedures committee meeting for the middle of May, and then we hope to bring it to the commission in June.
And then under City of Ukiah, Western Hills, page 10, there's a line item that says prepare, request, and coordinate with county assessor elections for voter registration. Is that for the approval of the voters or of actual annexation? Is that what that's?
When we, when we process an application, that is a standard request that we make to the assessor's office for that elections information. It will come into play when we do the protest process for that application. We have to do mailings to all of those landowners and registered voters.
I had the same question about South Fork. Thank you for answering. Thank you.
Okay, at this time I'd like to, Commissioner Gonzalez, did you have questions? Or?
I just wanted to go on record as supporting us being involved, because I know the cities usually have a seat at the table with the county and they've been meeting directly, but I know that we have a lot of small districts that I don't think they send representatives to those meetings, and so I think it's important that everybody know that there's somebody watching. That's why I think it's involved for transparency purposes. That's it.
Thank you, Commissioner Horsley.
Do we do a management letter for the with the audit or no?
Yes, I signed it. I'm going to jail if it. No.
Well, okay. Thank you for that. And at this time, I would like to call for a motion for items 4A through 4D, and then we'll separately consider item 4E. Commissioner Gonzalez?
I so move.
Thank you. And seconded by Horsley. We could go ahead and have a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Crane?
Aye.
Commissioner Horsley?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
And Chair Mulhern?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Okay, so now on to item 4E, the resolution number 232404, approving the corrected annexation map description for the Ukiah Valley Fire District annexation of the city limits of the city of Ukiah for fire services. And Director Hinman, Executive Officer Hinman, would you like to start us off with this conversation? It's my understanding there may be changes.
Thank you. Our analyst, Larkin Filer, is going to present on this.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me? Hopefully on your screen you can see some proposed red line changes on the resolution for correction of the annexation map for the Ukiah Valley Fire District that was completed in 2021. So within your packet is resolution number 2023-2404, and which again is just approving a revision to that annexation map description for that approved annexation. Basically, the process was completed in 2021, and in working with the County of Mendocino, there was identified a need to revise that annexation map to include a written description and title to ensure accurate administrative records. So this is not a consideration of that annexation. This is just making a correction to the records. So there was an addition. Hopefully you can see it's in blue line here on the screen, proposed by the Ukiah Valley Fire District. And essentially it's to confirm that the correction does not change the date of the annexation when it became effective. And beyond that, there are no further changes to item 4E. And I'm happy to answer questions.
Thank you. So just for clarification for the commissioners, I believe the city attorney, David Rapport, wanted to add this minor change to the resolution before it's approved. So that's the consideration that Larkin is bringing. Commissioner Ward.
What does it say? I can't really read it.
I can read it. It is the, after the whereas regarding the map and description, it's whereas the above described map description revision does not affect the effective date of the annexation, and whereas the revised annexation map. So essentially they're trying to just clarify that this does not change the effective date. A wording change.
Aren't attorneys?
Well, I mean, I think there is this is a time sensitive issue, and so I think that you know, in an interest in making sure that there is clarification before we move forward, that's why it was brought to our attention. I do see that Marcia Birch has popped onto the screen, so maybe she has a comment before I take additional commissioner questions.
No, it just sounded like there might be a question for me.
Okay. Does anybody have questions for Ms. Birch? Okay, I'm not seeing any from the dais. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right.
I would move approval of resolution number 2023-24.
I would second.
I have a motion by Horsley and second by Gonzalez to approve the updated resolution. And I would like to call for public comment, and there's no public here in the room with us. And if you're if you are public online and wish to comment, you can use the Zoom feature to raise your hand, or you can press *9 to unmute on your telephone. Seeing no hands raised, I will call for a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Gonzalez,
Yes.
Commissioner Crane,
Crane.
Aye.
and Commissioner Horsley,
Yes.
Commissioner Cole,
Yes.
Commissioner Ward,
Yes.
and Chair Mulhern.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you for that. And now we'll move on to item 5A, a public hearing, proposed fiscal year 24-25 budget and work program. This is a public hearing to discuss our upcoming budget and work program. And E.O. Hinman, are you going to start this off?
Yes.
Uh-oh.
Can you hear me? Okay. Too many buttons. Okay, this starts on page 50 of our agenda packet. This is the public hearing for our fiscal year 2024-25 proposed budget and work program. Give a brief overview of the budget statutes and policies. The annual budget process is laid out in the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act. It does state that the budget should be greater than or equal to the previous fiscal year unless finding that a reduction in staffing or program expenses will nevertheless allow the Commission to fulfill its purposes and programs. It's also laid out in Mendocino LAFCO Policy 5.1 under the budget and specifies that a preliminary budget and work program will be submitted to the Executive Committee in March, that the proposed budget and work program will be presented to the Commission in May, and then in June, the Commission will adopt a final budget and work program. For development of the budget, the Executive Officer prepares a preliminary budget and work program, which is based on the previous year's budgets and actuals, also projections based on known trends, and identification of organizational needs and improvements. The preliminary budget is then presented to the Executive Committee, who reviews it and makes recommendations to the Commission for a proposed budget and work program. The Commission then will reviews and adopts a proposed budget and work program in May, which is what we're here doing today. And the Executive Officer then distributes that proposed budget to the member agencies for comment. The final step in the process is Commission adoption of the final budget and work program, which will be scheduled for June. And again, the EO distributes to the member agencies and the county auditor for collection. The expenditures in the budget are broken into three categories: the basic services, which includes our staffing, the services and supplies, which is our typical office operations and includes training, as well as our contract for legal counsel. The work plan is the third component, and that's where we do our annual studies, which is our state-mandated municipal service reviews and sphere of influence updates. For this next fiscal year, we're proposing 9 inland region water districts, as well as the mutual water companies in those areas. You can see the breakdown in the pie chart, proposed for 50% of staffing and 25% each for services and supplies and the work. The basic services are described in the work program, which is an attachment 2 of your staff report. It includes commission and committee meetings, carrying out the direction of the commission, budget development. It includes the office administration and operations for LAFCO, and addressing public inquiries. It also includes development of policies and procedures, and as we've had identified for this fiscal year as well as next fiscal year, we'll be identifying those policies that require updating and working on those. It also includes organizational developments. One of the things we'd like, improvements, which is what we'd like to work on, increasing our online catalog of LAFCO documents and actions. We'd also like to include the more clerk duties, which is what was discussed with the Executive Committee. Also identified is development of a continuity plan, which is intended to capture the direction of the Commission and track that both for transparency and also for reporting purposes on an annual basis. And we are continuing to work on an update of our application form as well. The services and supplies includes office expenses, memberships to Cal LAFCO and to the CSDA, California Special Districts Association. For conferences and trainings, we have attendance to the annual Cal LAFCO conference as well as the annual Cal LAFCO staff workshop. Our contract services include legal counsel and a contract with the county for GIS services, as well as technical support for televising our meeting. The work plan proposed for next fiscal year will include the rollover completion of the coastal region water and wastewater districts. We intend to have those done by the end of the calendar year. We also will work on Laytonville County Water District and the Round Valley County Water District in the first half of the next fiscal year. In the second half of the fiscal year, we will be working on the Ukiah Valley water districts, and as well as Potter Valley, and that includes Redwood Valley as well. Essentially, those water districts that would be affected by the Potter Valley project. The revenue for LAFCO consists of unreserved equity or cash balance that would roll over from unused funds from this fiscal year into the next fiscal year, and apportionment fees. And the apportionment fees are established by the Commission with the adoption of the annual budget. The county auditor then applies a formula for all of the member agencies, and it is on a 1/3 equal split between the county, the cities, and the special districts. Other revenue includes service fees and then bank account interest. That's both from our savings account, our revenue, our account with West America for our savings, and then the Savings Bank of Mendocino County for our checking account, and then also the county treasury. This is a summary of the proposed budget. It proposes keeping the apportionments the same as the current fiscal year, and it estimates fees, reimbursements, and interests, which includes our service fees, at approximately $10,000. It uses an anticipated use of cash balance of $23,000. For a revenue total of $308,000. It does include an increase to basic services, a decrease to services and supplies, and a decrease to the work plan for a balanced budget of $308,000. There's no proposed increase or decrease to the reserves, and the work plan contingency of $29,000 would be the rollover use of the work plan budget from this fiscal year into the next in order to complete those coastal studies. So again, no change is proposed to the legal services, legal reserves, or the operating reserves. And then again, the work plan contingency would be that unused portion of the work plan budget from this fiscal year. The staff recommendations include adoption of the resolution in your packet, number 2023-2405, approving the proposed work plan and program for fiscal year 24-25, and directing staff to both distribute the adopted proposed budget and work program to the member agencies and schedule a public hearing for the final budget for June 3rd. That concludes presentation.
Thank you. And I'd like to take questions from Commissioner Horsley and then Commissioner Ward and whomever else, and Commissioner Christian. Thank you. I'll have it in that order.
Thank you. I only have 2 questions. I'm sorry, the continuity plan, what exactly is that again?
A continuity plan is a way, is a plan that would be developed to track Commission direction regarding policies, to track Commission findings regarding municipal service reviews. Sometimes we have, in adopting an MSR sphere update, there will be Commission direction to come back in a year. Sometimes those fall through the cracks, and we've come across that in a few cases where there was a request for Commission review again within a year or 2. That happened during the transition of EOs, and that kind of was lost in the transition. There's also, so it's a way to track Commission direction, essentially, and report on that annually.
Will that be a database, or how are you going to do it?
We're still working out the best way to do that, but essentially it would be a report similar to what the grand jury uses and their continuity reports, where they go back through their findings and report on those annually to, for us it would be annually to the Commission.
Okay. And then on page 58 of the packet at the top, the reason for the increase for staffing, $10,000, and you have a whole list of things there. It looks like a lot of those are special projects that we're working on, like updating policies and so forth. Is that mainly the reason for the increase?
That is the reason for the increase, as well as additional clerking services to increase our database on, on our website. There's been requests to include past meeting minutes and agendas. We redid our website a few years ago, and so the database online was lost during that transition, kind of rebuilding that.
And
and
staff
then-
is going to do that?
I'm sorry?
And staff is going to do that?
Someone to fill that clerk administrative role would be working on that.
And then county services costs for treasury account and overhead. So increase of 1,000. What exactly are you talking about? The accounting services that keeps track of revenue and checks and so forth, or are there other services you're speaking of here?
I'm sorry, which one are you referring to?
It's under account 6,400.
Those are the A87 costs, and we receive that bill from the county every year. And my understanding is it's the services that the county provides to us. Primarily, I believe it comes from the auditor's office in collecting the apportionments from our agencies, as well as some overhead that they tack on to for example, the GIS and the IS services.
Okay, thank you.
We'll begin with the basic services in 10,000. It's 20,000 more a year. And I think it's important that because I know there's a paper in Anderson Valley is looking at our budgets now, maybe others, that important to sort of express why that's going up $20,000. Even though our apportionment fees aren't going up, I think it's important that we really outline what you're going to be doing for the additional $20,000 in your budget for your basic services. I was obviously on the executive committee and I agreed to the budget, but I do see the wisdom in keeping the apportionment fees at where they're at, but I've always stressed that we need to keep our work plans going forward, and we're having a decrease in that. Can you go back to the slide that shows the work plan you're proposing? So the first half of 24-25, which is the next 6 months, I presume, right? You're going to complete the coastal region ones, but you say these aren't going to be completed until the year end. By December 31st, they'll be completed.
Correct. We'll be bringing them forward and completing them during that time.
And we have $29,000 left over to meet that. Then the other $75,000 for the work plan will be for the second half.
Well, it will include Laytonville County Water District and Round Valley County Water District and those identified for the second half of the fiscal year.
But we spent $100,000 from our previous budget, and we're not completing what we really wanted to do for the original work plan. It's just confusing to me, the 6 month stuff, I just don't want to be, we're reducing it, but I want to get more work plans done, or MSRs done, excuse me, but it seems like we're just keep falling behind. The other question is Millview County Water District and Redwood Valley County Water District that we're going to be doing MSRs. Won't they be in a JPA? 25. But we may be 25 by the time we get to it.
The fact that they're in a JPA doesn't change the fact that LAFCO is still required to do municipal service reviews and sphere studies for the districts themselves. And these will be, it's an aggressive schedule. 9 water districts is a fairly aggressive work plan proposed. There are going to be a lot of issues that need to be worked through, and we identified these because of the upcoming changes in the Potter Valley project, as well as the Ukiah Valley Water Authority. So those changes are all going to affect have the potential to affect water services in the Ukiah Valley area, as well as Potter Valley and Redwood Valley. That's why these have been identified. We have been coordinating with Ukiah Valley Water Authority folks and we will continue to do that on what those changes mean and what the plans are for consolidation. They are in agreement with this schedule and with moving forward with studies of these agencies, and the hope is that it will support their consolidation efforts as we move through this.
For clarification, if they're a JPA, we can do an MSR.
They are still special districts. The JPA is kind of forms over the top of those, but it doesn't change the fact that they are still independent special districts.
Okay. Well, I think it should be told to the public, or at least for the other 50-some districts, that we're spending a lot more time with the county waters and not dealing with cemetery districts and other districts throughout the county. We're not going through and getting those done, just like we're quite far behind on a lot of those little districts too. So just so they all know, we're spending all of our time on water the next 2 years, this previous year and the next year coming forward. So not to say that we haven't heard any complaints, but it sure be nice to get all these up to date and not constant. I know it's important to get this water district done, but my concern. And I know we're talking about the budget, and I as a public member representing the public, I just want the public to know we're doing our best to keep the costs down. There's numbers in here I think we've enhanced a little bit, let's say. I think we could cut it down another $10,000–$15,000, but as long as I know we're getting the job done, I feel pretty good about it. I think there's some stuff in there we could reduce. You've estimated some costs based on the previous budget, but the actual costs were a lot lower. That's all I'm saying. Even our operating expenses reserve is $5,000 more than we need in there. If you take 25% of our budget, it's only $77,000. Just things like that I want to bring up for the public, that we're doing our best to try to keep our costs down to these small little districts, whether it be a cemetery district, a water district, or what have you. That we've always tried to keep those apportionment fees as low as possible. As long as you can say your $20,000 more in basic services is a good thing for everybody involved, I think we need to get that information out.
Thank you. Before I go to Commissioner Christian, I just would say that, water issues typically come to our forefront when we are having droughts, and just because we aren't currently doesn't mean we don't need to continue to do that work. And I agree with you that we, have a lot of small districts that need our attention, and there's a lot on the plate for LAFCO. So, Commissioner Christian.
Before I go to my question, I just wanted to comment that cemetery districts or whatever all pay in to support LAFCO, and when you've got a kind of a parochial point of view, you sort of say, what's LAFCO done for me? I know Anderson Valley, Mark Scaramella, the advertiser, was saying, well, we're paying money and they haven't done an MSR for us. So, and I don't know how to address that. There's sort of a, we've got to support the whole process. Everybody has to chip in. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But in the work plan, I noticed that the Anderson Valley Sphere of Influence project and the Anderson Valley Boonville Water Project are not included. Is that because they're paid for by the applicant, and that's why they're not included in the plan?
Correct. Those are applications that are tracked separately and paid for by the applicant. Okay. These are studies that are mandated by through the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg. So the state mandates these studies be done, and we are required to do them on all special districts and cities within our county.
Those are the ones you've listed.
Correct.
Got it.
And then we prioritize based on the date of the last sphere study, as well as known issues that are arising, and we prioritize those. And further, our policies state that we are to prioritize the municipal services and cemetery, and So that is usually water, sewer, and fire. Those are often prioritized. Cemetery districts are not necessarily on that 5-year schedule, nor is the Recreation and Park District or the RCD.
Thank you.
Commissioner Crane.
Has there been any discussion about reaching out for capacity to get some of these things caught up?
Yes, and we actually just had I have a new analyst starting with Hinman and Associates. She started on May 1st, and she will also be supporting our work plan and our application processing. The application processing is a very time-consuming effort, and so oftentimes it sucks in one of our analysts just to stay on track with that. So our work plan in the past has been not the priority. It's always the customer-driven applications that become the priority. So we have supplemented our staff to try to meet the demands of both the applications and the work plan.
Part of the reason for asking that question, it's not appropriate for this body to be supported the administrative components of cost to be paid for they are to be paid for separately from the reports or the studies. So, careful there. So the amount of administration is sort of fixed. So if the throughput is less than it could be, it's the community spending a resource for administering an operation that really should get more done, it seems like. So it causes me to ask the question, is there a way to compress work? Is there a way to reach out to the people that the work is to be done for and come up with a way of getting some compression to get some of this stuff caught up?
Commissioner Cole.
Answering Commissioner Crane, I believe the discussion about having the questionnaires going for the MSRs to the special districts was part of that. We'll streamline that course. And also the special districts, I think just receiving that questionnaire and then also addressing what Commissioner Ward was saying about advising the public. I think part of our disconnect with the public is not having a logo, having the website up to date, perhaps offering special districts. We're in discussions about having the LAFCO or the county host all these expenses for the special districts. So there's, in other words, there's conversations going with the special districts, but I also agree that LAFCO has a disconnect with the public, and it would be helpful to have a clear conduit perhaps that could go out. But I think the improvements in the website and the logo and all these things are starting to address that issue as far as whether we're even being effective or not.
Commissioner Horsley, do you have additional questions?
I have one comment and then a response. In the recent MSRs and sphere of influences with the sanitation district, Ukiah Valley Sanitation District, City of Ukiah, LAFCO staff really opened up and worked hand in hand with the staffs of both of those agencies, which helped move things, I think, along really well and a lot faster and got done. So that was really great to see. And I know someone who's very critical of LAFCO, who I talked to recently, explained the MSRs and sphere of influences that had been completed and what's on the work plan. They were absolutely thrilled to see it moving along. I mean, when you have 50 different special districts, you can only do so much in the fact that it's actually moving, it's happening. We have evidence that it's going to happen still and continue. I think for people, even critics out there, it's been a huge change in what they see has happened in the past. And so I think there's a lot of positive.
Commissioner Ward?
So this has been brought up in the past about using outside consultants to do more MSR work for us, SOIs. We can certainly do that. The cost will be more than $225,000 a year through the apportionment fees. We could raise the apportionment fees to $500,000 and get a lot more done. But it was this body that basically said, we'll just try to do the best we can. I'm just trying to do what we can with the money we have and throwing a couple small districts in there once in a while that are real easy. The questionnaires that was brought up, it could be something to thrown in there just to get something done rather than concentrate on water. It seems like we've been doing it for so long. And these districts are paying, well, what they're paying into LAFCO, they're getting a hell of a lot more work out of LAFCO than what they're paying in. So I know we can't charge more for them, but I just want to see a little bit more done, that's all. And so that the public knows that we're doing the best we can with the money we can. $225,000 is a lot for these little districts to absorb. And so I'm not in favor of hiring more consultants like South Fork to do more work for us. But at the same time, let's get some more work done. And our work plans are going down in dollars and not going up. And our basic services are going up because we have a lot more information that we have to provide, like you've explained earlier. So that's all I'm saying is just trying to get some of this work done. And if we're going to get that far behind, we're going to have to really raise the apportionment fees to get it done. And maybe you do have to hire more staff. We've talked about that too. We certainly need a clerk. We're doing bookkeeping services at $110 an hour. That it doesn't make sense to me.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yeah, I actually wanted to originally agree with Commissioner Horsley and that I want LAFCO here because some LAFCOs have a reputation of being the don't get nothing done or stall projects or whatever, and I really want us to be the can-do LAFCO for this county so that we move forward. And as far as to Commissioner Ward's, yeah, water's taking up a lot of time, and right now we don't have the drought in our face again, but I'd rather do this house cleaning now with water before it comes back. Water is king no matter what, and that's just showing itself all over the state. So I'd rather do the housekeeping with water now that it's not in our face before the state comes in and forces things on us. So that's my thought.
So I'll just add that all around the county, things regarding water are happening, and it's really imperative that LAFCO is involved. You have JPAs. Lake County recently received funds for some studies at the Potter Valley Project. Sonoma Water and Inland Water Power Commission are working with Potter Valley and folks along the Russian River all the way down to Marin regarding what's going to happen with the water. So I think it is critical that LAFCO stays involved and engaged in water issues, especially as we're at this pivotal time across the county, but certainly inland, which affects the entire county. And then I wanted to also just add that while there is a lot of work to do, I think just we've gained a lot more consistency, and I appreciate trying to bank some of the education that comes from having commissioners like Commissioner Ward and Commissioner Crane that have historical knowledge that may not be bringing up every meeting the same questions that people might have. And so it is important that we update the website and, make sure that we're recording all of that in a way that is easily accessible for future LAFCO commissioners and future LAFCO staff and for the public. So thank you for acknowledging that that's work that needs to be ongoing. Commissioner Gonzalez, did you have additional questions? Okay, thank you. So is there anything else that you'd like to add?
I think I would just like to add that I appreciate all the comments very much, and with the basic services, when I first came on in 2016, the staffing really was focused on getting through the work plan, and that was their primary focus, and they had applications as well. Since then, we have continued to increase our outreach to special districts in our cities and member agencies. We've set up coordination, regular coordination meetings with some of these entities. We're working with the member agencies on a number of issues. All of that takes time. It takes research. That really is the basis for the increased basic services. It's certainly the Commission's prerogative on how proactive you want staff to be, and that's feedback that we would greatly appreciate. If we're doing too much, if we're not doing enough, that's always feedback we want from the Commission. Our goal and what we've heard from the Commission is that you want us to be more visible and more proactive, interactive with the member agencies, and that's what we've really been working to do.
Thank you. Commissioner Ward.
Yeah, I would agree. I've seen this evolve in the last 10 years where it was work plan, but now we're getting into more annexations, and when the tax sharing agreements get approved, all those annexations are going to take a lot of your time. I really think that this commission needs to look at really expanding the budget to include more staffing to get a lot of this stuff done. This is not like the old days. Not only the work plans, but all the other information that we have to provide. It's more complicated. It's definitely more complicated. I would agree. So it's going to come to that. I know that it's not this year's budget, maybe next year's, but we have to really look at really bringing more staff in and get these stuff done so we don't get behind again. It's a lot more complicated. I agree.
Thank you. Anything additional to add? The recommended action is that we review the budget and the work program, accept public testimony, and then move forward to distributing it and then having a public hearing scheduled for June 3rd. I did believe that I called for public comment, but let me do it again just in case. And there's no public in the room in Ukiah, so if you are on Zoom and you wish to comment, you can use the raise hand feature with the Zoom platform or press *9 on your telephone. And I have no one raising their hands at this point. Do I have any commissioners that wish to move the recommended action? Thank you. That was Crane and Gonzalez. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Crane?
Aye.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Yes.
Commissioner Ward?
Yes.
Commissioner Horsley?
Yes.
Commissioner Cole?
Yes.
Chair Mulhern?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. We'll move on to item 6A, Pacific Reefs Water District Municipal Service Review and Sphere of Influence Study. This is a workshop of the draft Pacific Reefs Water District Municipal Service Review and Sphere of Influence update.
Thank you, Chair Mulhern. I want to start by thanking Robert Cutler, who is the Pacific Reefs Water District Board President, for all of his assistance. He has been very responsive and helpful in preparing the study, and he is on joining us by Zoom today. I have a brief presentation. Just as a background, an MSR is a study of a local agency's governance and operations, and it provides an inventory and analysis of its services, including capacity, financial ability, accountability, and anticipated growth within the agency. This is a second round MSR for the district. The first MSR was in 2014, I believe, and the Sphere of Influence was adopted in 2015. As far as background, This district was initially formed on June 5th of 1967, specifically to serve the Pacific Reefs subdivision. The district boundary and the subdivision boundaries are the same, and there are a total of 24 parcels within that subdivision. The district provides water service to approximately 34 customers, and they are a single service provider. The district is located approximately a half a mile south of Albion and west of Highway 1. There are a number of regional providers. The Albion Little River Fire Protection District provides fire and EMS services. There are several other private water providers in the area, including the Albion Mutual Water Company, Seafoam Lodge, and the Albion Field Station. The board president volunteers as the general manager. They do have a part-time water master who provides water master services both for the district as well as Albion Mutual Water Company. The board members act as volunteers to manage and administer the services. They have 2 springs and 1 well as their water supply, and they have 3 tanks that provide 40,000 gallons of water storage. They are currently implementing a grant to replace one of their largest water tank, and should be completing that in the next month. They have a distribution system of approximately 2,000 feet of 3- and 4-inch lines, and they have connections to each of the 24 residential lots, although they currently only serve 14 of those lots and provide standby service for an additional 3. They do have fire standpipes within the subdivision, and they're currently operating at about 60 to 80% capacity. There is no change recommended to the sphere of influence, so it's currently coterminous, which means the same as the jurisdictional boundary, and the district has concurred with that recommendation. So as far as process, this is a workshop for the commission to review and discuss and request revisions to the draft MSR. We also welcome public comments at this point. No formal action will be taken on this MSR today. Based on the feedback we receive, we'll make changes to the document and then schedule it for public hearing where the commission can formally consider the MSR and the sphere. And that concludes presentation.
Thank you. Commissioner Horsley.
Just a few, just for the next one, spelling or grammatical. There's 2 that I found. On page 75, very top sentence, Pacific isn't completed. Pacific. It's PACIF. And then on page 88, there's an incomplete sentence.
Okay, thank you.
Is the district, it's just before 242, paragraph above it, the district reports that if, during the operation, then something's missing. This suggests the districts may need evaluation.
Thank you.
And then my only question was, staff recommends that the commission review any at the next MSR SOI update. So they haven't had any complaints in 5 years, so this is just new. LAFCO has the purview to review those as part of the MSR process. Is that why we would?
Correct, yes. If there's,
and
a recommendation.
And consolidation, I know that was mentioned several places, but if there's no real reason for consolidation, I mean, sharing the consultant or staff person already, if there's no other reasons for consolidation, we wouldn't have a reason push that would reason to do it, not just for its sake of doing consulting.
Correct. And what this is, those we're really trying to get at was the State Water Board has the authority to require consolidations of special districts and private water companies. And so this, as we are preparing these, we try to identify the other water service providers in the vicinity of the special district and just call those out should the State Water Board make those moves in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ward and then Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to say that I give a lot of credit to this little district for providing a very good service for those 24 lots. I'm impressed. And they have 5 board members. Actually, out of 24 lots, they came up with 4 board members. Now, it does say it's supposed to be staggered, but they're not staggered. All these people are going to come due in November of 25. So what happens if they don't get voted in or want to rerun? Normally, we see staggered board members. So it's something we might want to consider so that at least have 3 people on that board. Who's the treasurer and secretary?
The treasurer, this is Robert, the treasurer is Sue Dool.
She's not a board member then?
No, she is not a board member.
Okay. And who sends out the emails and meeting notices and all?
We have a secretary, his name is Andrew King. He is not on the board either.
So they don't plan on moving, do they?
No, no, we're all here. It's kind of the nicest place on earth, so we're not going anywhere.
Yeah, I would say you're not a duck looking at those homes. I know we can't come up with anything better, but you're not a duck. Yeah, I was just concerned about such a small area, how you can keep that going in the future. It is well run. You have a very good set of financials. I'm impressed with the services you provide. So I just wanted to make that point. I've been driven by Pacific Reefs several times, and it's a very nice area as well. So you guys are living in God's country.
Thanks very much.
There was a drought contingency plan. How does that work? I mean, is that something that we can encourage them to do it, or they have to do it?
A drought contingency plan is something that we encourage. I know the State Water Board has specific criteria, and we can describe that better in the document for the next round.
And then they're out of compliance with Prop 218. What do we do about that?
We've included a recommendation to that, that they comply with the Prop 218. I think that needs a little more research and discussion with the district as to exactly how they have established their rates, and we can work on that for the draft MSR.
And then there's assessment fees from the county, I guess, that assesses a property that goes towards their revenue. But there was also administration fees. What were those administration fees?
Mr. Cutler, could you speak to that?
Sure. I'm not sure which administration fees you're referring to.
Well, as described, I should have marked it in here, that there were some administration fees. I'll look for it here. I'm sure somebody else has some questions. But there were administration fees on top of the assessment fees.
Those are on the rate schedule for the district.
I believe that's where I saw
It's
it.
$90 a quarter.
A quarter.
They're quarterly administration fees.
Yeah.
I think that's if they don't use water. Isn't that correct? I believe that's what it is. In other words, if you're not really hooked up and you're not really using water, or you're hooked up but you're using a very little because you're not there, I believe it's a minimum of $90 a quarter.
And they're still getting assessment fees on top of that too?
I believe so, yes.
For not using water.
That's true, but I believe that's true. Yes.
So there's an incentive to join the water system. Pay
That's true,
$1,500.
but it also means that, you know, from the day that somebody comes in and gets a permit and hooks up, they're online.
Okay.
But yes, that's true. Every homeowner pays the assessment.
I know they provided a hardship situation with a website, but I believe in the past we've talked to little districts about there's a program out there that they can get a minimal website set up for very little money. Have we looked into that?
We do have that recommendation included as an attachment to the agenda. It's in one of the appendices for establishing a compliant website. And we can provide that there is a specific company that focuses on special districts and Streamline, I think, and they provide that service. We can include that for them.
So what's the process today? We're just accepting it and then approve it at the next meeting? Is that what we?
We're looking for direction from the commission as far as if there's any additional information they would like included, and then feedback from the public. If there's questions to Mr. Cutler, now is a good time, and then we can include any additional information in preparation of the draft study for the public hearing.
Okay. So, Mr. Cutler, keep up the good work. You're doing a fantastic job over there, you and your board members.
Sure appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yeah,
And just for the record, Commissioner McGorty has entered the meeting. Thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez.
Yeah, I wanted to echo what Commissioner Ward said about your district. You're doing a great job. I look at some of the smaller little cemetery districts out there that struggle, but I do worry that I think what we're getting at is legacy issues, that it's not a problem now, but in the future, you know, things like the website. And I also got to thinking, you hold meetings in one of your houses, and I could see where that might get awkward. You know, 10 years from now, different parties are there, and that's going to be an awkward situation for somebody, and maybe making plans for that. Or I think the Albion meets at one of the, I think the Albion Water District meets at one of the Granges or something, that maybe you look at something like that in the future, because I could see some other folks inheriting your board that may not want somebody there, or some stranger from the street showing up for a public meeting.
I understand that, yes.
So
actually, there is a pretty close Grange here, so that's an interesting point.
Again, it's for me, it's just one. I'm not sure I'd want everybody in town showing up at my house, so to speak. I know you're a small community, but I think it's something that it works for you now, but you know, 10 years from now, for whoever inherits this board, may not like some of the folks there, and the public meeting, they get to show up. So that's just something I got to thinking, that maybe we add a legacy section for some sort of way to allow them to move some of these things forward, or that they have a plan that they're working on, so that when we get the next MSR, we can kind of see what their progress was on some of these things. That's all I have.
Thank you. Do we have any other commissioners with questions? Okay. Seeing none, I believe that there's no formal action that needs to be taken today, and we'll have another public hearing in the future. Do we know a date yet?
If there are no significant changes that require a lot of time, then we should be able to schedule this for June 3rd.
Okay, thank you. Great. Let's go ahead and move on to we have no items for item 7, so we're on item 8A, the work plan, current and future proposals. As we just discussed the work plan, do you have any other additional topics or items you want to add there?
Thank you. I would like to just add a couple of potential future proposals that we are aware of, in addition to Anderson Valley CSD's activation of latent powers. We also are following and talking with Russian River Flood Control District and Redwood Valley County Water District regarding a potential annexation of Redwood Valley District into Russian River. also are working with the city of Willits. They are doing an update of their land use element of their general plan. Their update is going to include a proposed sphere amendment that will come to LAFCO and also a potential annexation. And finally, the Covelo CSD has reached out to us with questions regarding activation of latent powers. They recently had and this happened in Hopland as well, they recently had a Caltrans-funded street improvement project in downtown Covelo, and now they need a funding, an entity to take over maintenance of that lighting component. So they've been talking with us about that. And that's all I have, unless there are questions.
Thank you. Are there any board members that have questions about the work plan that was received as item 8A? Commissioner Gonzalez? Okay, and were there any additional correspondence received for 8B?
None.
Thank you. And item 8C is the Cal LAFCO Business and Legislative Report.
Nothing to include at this time.
Item 8D. Any additional reports from the executive officer for the commission?
Just to note that the alternate public member deadline has come and gone. It was last week, I believe, so we'll be extending that another 60 days. Still looking for interest from members of the public to fill that alternate public seat. As I mentioned, we do have a new staff person that has started, Jen Crump, and she is an entry-level analyst that is working for Hinman and Associates and will be supporting us. Want to recognize that Commissioner Ward had requested that we have updates on the Ukiah Valley Water Authority activities, and we'll include that in the agenda next month. And also to note that we will have a public hearing on the final budget at our next meeting, so that's June 3rd. And we'll also be planning a workshop for Gualala CSD and potentially a public hearing for the Pacific Reefs.
Thank you. Item 8E is committee reports. Are there any committees that wish to provide a report? The Executive Committee of Policies and Procedures. Okay, not seeing any. Commissioner reports. Commissioner Cole.
Just a note, which was interesting for a small special district, the Hopland Cemetery District. I've been attending the HMAC meetings and being pretty visible, and I think some of the special districts might follow our lead, because we had just had our quarterly board meeting, and we have 2 people chomping at the bit to join the board of a cemetery district. And I think I'm very excited about the LAFCO website and the logos, etc., is because I think if we have the special districts, the smaller ones, being as visible as possible, it's obviously helping our situation and getting some really good qualified local people involved. So however we can I'm going to contact at least the cemetery districts about this, that after a year or so of visibility at public meetings, etc., it is helping us. Wanted to make that.
Thank you, and thank you for your work on bringing awareness. I will report that I do believe that the master tax sharing agreement between the cities and the counties the County of Mendocino will come before the Board of Supervisors on the May 21st agenda. So I am hoping that on June 3rd, I will be able to provide a very positive report back to this board regarding approval of those of that master tax sharing agreement. So that is a very long time coming. It's been decades in the work. I've personally been working on it as a board member for over 2 years now. So I'm hoping that we have a positive response from the board and are able to move that forward, and then it'll go to the cities. So I'm very happy to report that. I certainly hope that we have a 5-0 vote. I don't want to try to lead the conversation, but I'm certainly hopeful that the work has been done in advance and over the last several years to bring a document that everybody can agree to. So fingers crossed. Well, let's wait until June 3rd for the flaws. Any other commissioners that have reports?
No, I just wanted to congratulate you on that because I know that that's been an extraordinary journey to get that ready for consideration by the board.
Thank you. All right, so now we'll adjourn to closed session 9A, Contract Executive Officers Performance Evaluation, pursuant to Government Code 54957B1. We will hear Contract Executive Officer Performance Evaluation in closed session, and then come back out to adjourn the meeting. And at this time, I'd like to make sure that there's no public comment on this closed session item. We have no members of the public here in the room at 501 Low Gap Road. Are there any members of the public online that wish to comment on closed session? Seeing none, I would just like to let the board know that we'll be meeting in conference room C, which will be right out here to your right. And then let's go ahead and give it 5 minutes or so. We'll meet at 10:30. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
Just here for her, she's here to help with all of it. She helped me create a safe space where I feel comfortable enough to ask for help.
Don't be afraid to take that step. Like, don't be afraid to get help. It's always okay to have extra support.
I would say, give it a try. You got nothing to lose. It's free, there's some perks, they got some great resources.
Personally, I think everybody could benefit from the home visiting programs.
I realized that my life was going to change dramatically in ways that I did not know or understand or even comprehend. I was going to have to really go to the well and become accountable and adjust to a lot of things differently.
Que queríamos era que naciera, ya quiero tener, entonces ahorita lo que tenemos es aprovecharla, quererla y cuidarla lo más que se pueda.
Creo que a todos nos preocupa la primera vez que nos dicen que vamos a ser padres.
When we started the program, my daughter was about 3 months, and my daughter's 22 months now. Something I love about my child, that she's healthy, she's happy, she knows that she's cared for and loved. Those are some of the things that I wanted to make sure that she had, and she has them.
I'm happy today with my daughter. She's the greatest thing in my life, and I'm glad to wake up and see her, and everything I do it for her.
Sí, bueno, yo también vengo de una familia separada. Creo que por eso también me motiva a estar más presente con él, de quizás también estar de la forma quizás que yo no la tuve para Máximo. Y también comprender que el padre no solo es el que pone los límites y las reglas, sino que también está ahí para hablar, acompañar, regalonear, jugar, cosas lindas también, no solo ser el guía para el niño, sino que también un compañero de vida.
I was more of elated and thankful because for 3 months I was in baby land, and when you're in baby world, you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants and hoping that you're just supportive in the ways that you can be supportive.
Pero pues aquí pues ya los enseñan un poquito más cosas que uno no sabía. cómo cuidarla, cómo desarrollarla, cómo educarla, y pues es algo bien porque pues cosas que yo no sabía, pues ya usted nos las dijo y todo como consejos, y pues muchas cosas que se aprendieron.
Bueno, creo que por mi parte esperaba algo totalmente diferente, como un programa más frío, por decir algo, no tan cercano a la familia, sino más bien un programa de Estado programado para la ayuda solamente. Y a través del programa nos hemos dado cuenta que también pasa a ser una familia con nosotros, porque nos apoya en los momentos difíciles o cuando nos hemos visto en dificultades. Siempre nos hemos podido apoyar en Gaby a través de su programa. Encuentro que ha sido fundamental el apoyo.
You know, my experience has been nothing but positive. Annette has been wonderful. She's on time. She lets me know if there's going to be any changes in the schedule.
Not only did we get the assistance with this program, but we also made a really good friend. I'm happy to call Gabby our friend.
I still feel the challenge of being a parent now in today's world is immense. I think that you need support.
Es un gran apoyo para nuevos padres, y más aún si están en nuestra situación, que somos extranjeros, que nuestra familia y amigos, como dice Carla, están en otro país, lejos. Entonces sí, viene muy bien el programa para apoyarse tanto emocional y como anímicamente, y bueno, en varios aspectos del programa que nos ayuda a seguir adelante con esta nueva aventura.
Don't be afraid to take that step. Like, don't be afraid to get help, because, you know, you might think that you know what you're doing, but it's always okay to have extra support, and don't do it alone.
Give it a try. You got nothing to lose. It's free. I'm grateful that I took advantage, because it's something that has put me in touch with my child, or closer to my child and her development.
Are you prepared? We're the Office of Emergency Services, and we're committed to providing the most up-to-date and accurate information so that you and your family can stay safe during an emergency. Part of being prepared is knowing your hazards and taking proper precautions. Visit mendoready.org. On the Know Your Hazards page, you can find hazards for where you work, where you live, and where your kids go to school. On the Plan and Prepare page, you'll find a plan template. It's important to know what you're going to do, what you're going to take with you, how you're going to communicate, where you're going to go, and how to get there.
One great way to prepare is to pack a go bag. Each member of your family should have their own go bag. Visit our website, mendoready.org, to get a list of items that should be in your go bag.
Gathering and organizing important documents before an emergency is an important part of preparedness. So visit mendoready.org today, where you can find a list of important documents that you should have ready near your go bag in case you have to evacuate.
Not every emergency requires people to evacuate. An emergency kit will have supplies for you to remain self-sufficient for 72 hours. Find a list of supplies for disaster kits on our website, mendoready.org.
A prepared community is a resilient community that will recover faster from disasters. So take some time today, visit our website, get yourself prepared so you can be Mendo ready.
Personally, I think everybody could benefit from the home visiting programs.
I think that as a parent now, I'm grateful for support more than I was before.
I filled out that form not knowing what I was doing. I am very, very grateful that I did it because it's really helping me a lot.
Bueno, creo que por mi parte esperaba algo totalmente diferente, como un programa más frío, por decir algo, no tan cercano a la familia. Y a través del programa nos hemos dado cuenta que también pasa a ser una familia con nosotros porque nos apoya en los momentos difíciles o cuando nos hemos visto en dificultades.
Well, I was a new mom and I had no experience taking care of a newborn.
There isn't like a book on how to raise a kid.
We come from like a lot of family history of, you know, drugs, violence, alcoholism, so we didn't want our daughter to experience any of that.
The thought that a parent was supposed to be loving, nurturing, supposed to be there for their kid, you know, provide food, shelter, joy, and going in, becoming a parent for her, I had no clue how to provide that.
Cómo pensar educarla, ajá, cómo educar a un hijo y porque pues nosotros nunca, es la primera vez que íbamos a ser padres.
What I think parents should know about home visiting is that you can learn a lot of new things and tips and tricks, how to take care of the baby and what to do, and if you're, you know, stuck in a routine and everything being monotonous, like they give you new resources and new tools how to handle parenthood.
It was nice to have them kind of guiding me, even though I was not a first-time mom. I felt like a first-time mom.
It totally blew my mind over time. So much information that I had no idea about. You know, she was straightforward when, you know, teaching me this stuff and answered any of my questions. Just a really positive experience.
What I think that parents could benefit with the program is just having someone here for you, especially for first-time parents. It can be very isolating and it can be very lonely, and having the home visitor changes that and it feels very good.
For me, having a home visitor is like having a second mom there.
A lot has changed. I'm definitely more knowledgeable taking care of her, and I know that anytime I need advice or help from somebody, I can just call her.
It's just that little positive nudge to, hey, I'm noticing something, you know, let's find a way how to change it. And she's like, you know what, Amanda, let's pick you up, dust you off, and let's go over to, you know, see about either getting your driver's license or seeing about, you know, going to college, see if we can start something for you.
It's totally worth it. Like, even if you're on the fence at first, you don't feel like having a stranger coming in your house and teaching you about your little one, do it anyway. You know, you get the help that you need. You get professional advice on things you may not know about your child. And the fact that the program has no fees or anything, it's all totally free, is fantastic.
Yo creo que si conozco a alguien que está próxima a ser mamá, lo primero que haría sería recomendarle el programa porque te entrega mucho apoyo, mucha información y más que nada como apoyo emocional, una guía, te da una visión diferente de cómo es ser papá aquí, quizás en este país.
Y así pues es un bonito programa. porque pues es buena persona la señora y los ha atendido muy bien.
Pensé que nada más iba a ser un programa de orientación quizás para los nuevos padres, pero creo que nos llevamos una linda sorpresa porque Gaby es una persona muy cercana a nosotros, es como parte de nuestra familia, siempre ha estado dispuesta a ayudarnos y a escucharnos con nuestras dudas sobre la paternidad, y en nuestro caso, que estamos solos en este país, ha sido como de mucha ayuda.
Es un gran apoyo para nuevos padres y más aún si están en nuestra situación, que somos extranjeros, que nuestra familia y amigos, como dice Carla, están en otro país, lejos. Entonces sí, viene muy bien el programa para apoyarse tanto emocional y como anímicamente, y bueno, en varios aspectos del programa que nos ayuda a seguir adelante con esta nueva aventura.
Te ayuda como a ver los distintos recursos que tiene la comunidad para nuevos papás, entonces creo que es de gran ayuda.
No queda mucho que agregar, pero lo veo de la misma forma.
Que hemos aprendido algunas cosas aquí y pues los han ayudado, como este programa los ha ayudado para seguir creciendo a la bebé, como con buenos consejos y así.
Sí, y creo que también ha sido muy importante el tema de apoyarnos con el libro y saber qué actividades hacer con Máximo de acuerdo a su edad, cómo estimularlo, cómo cuidarlo de los peligros de la casa, como cosas que uno como papá nuevo no conoce, claro.
Pues a mí me gustaría que lo siguiéramos visitando aquí en la biblioteca de Covelo. Está tranquilo y muy bonito aquí.
Cuando no nos podemos reunir, nos comunicamos por Zoom o una llamada telefónica o por texto.
Donde nos visite, porque ha sido nuestra casa, a veces nosotros vamos a Wellits y puede ser en el parque. Gaby llega, como hacemos un resumen de cómo ha ido nuestra semana o qué hemos hecho de nuevo, cómo va el trabajo. Luego hacemos las actividades del libro. Vemos si podemos hacer un juguetito nuevo para Máximo, a veces ella lo evalúa, cómo está su sentido motriz, qué ha aprendido de nuevo, nuevas palabras, y jugamos un ratito y conversamos.
A mí personalmente también me ayudó mucho a obtener mi licencia a conducir, que era un objetivo que teníamos en cuanto a la familia, sí, para poder estar tranquilos, así que encuentro que ha sido fundamental el apoyo.
El objetivo del programa es que las familias estén bien, y que las familias estén bien significa niños felices, niños sanos, y eso en un futuro es adultos sanos y un mundo mejor. Entonces está bueno.
She has made me feel like I'm important and I can go at my own pace, and that's all you need sometimes when you're feeling like you got nobody.
It was helpful to have somebody there kind of holding my hand and guiding me and letting me know this is kind of the normal. It felt like I was becoming a new mom, so it was very interesting and helpful, very, very helpful.
You know, there was that self-conscious part of me, like, will I be accepted even though I'm not perfect?
What I like the most is that she really listens.
The support that she gives me is special because she does it with love, and it's just natural, you know. That's all I could say. It just feels like somebody that I've known since I was little.
You know, I said to Jeanette, Jeanette, you're supposed to be with me for 5 years. Jeanette said, yeah, I know, I'm going to be with you guys for 5 years. That's when I said, well, I guess I can trust her. She's going to be with us for 5 years.
Yo creo que quizás pasó como a la segunda visita o algo así, como que ya nos presentamos formalmente. Y luego ya creo que en la segunda visita estaba como todo más tranquilo, como muy, como que el ambiente era muy familiar. Entonces yo me sentí muy cómoda.
I felt like she cared for Sparrow too, and Sparrow really enjoyed it. Yeah, she knew when Gabby came we were going to be making something or learning something, and she'd instantly start digging through Gabby's bags to find out what activity we were going to do.
Not only did we get the assistance with this program, but we also made a really good friend. I'm happy to call Gabby our friend.
I think the relationship that we've built has been just, she's a part of the family.
Are you prepared? We're the Office of Emergency Services, and we're committed to providing the most up-to-date and accurate information so that you and your family can stay safe during an emergency. Visit MendoReady.org. It's our one-stop shop for emergency information. You can sign up for emergency alerts, find your pre-established evacuation zone on our current emergencies map, and find hazard and preparedness information.
Imagine you're faced with a disaster such as a wildfire, and you're ordered to evacuate. I'll bet you wish you had more time in that moment. Now's your chance to buy yourself that time. Sign up for Nixle and Mendo Alerts on our website, MendoReady.org. Do it today.
If you want your family to be as resilient as possible, it's important to take some time today and visit MendoReady.org, where you can look up your pre-established evacuation zones on our current emergencies map. You can also find important tools to help maintain your situational awareness, such as the Alert California wildfire cameras and the Caltrans road conditions cameras. We hope you'll take some time today to prepare so that your family can be Mendo ready. Thank you.
When I first realized that I was going to be a parent, I was super scared. After 2 or 3 weeks of meeting in the home visiting program, I was totally comfortable with the fact that I was going to have a baby. Yes, I was still scared, but at the same time, I felt like I had some sense of strength behind me.
If I didn't have those resources that Jeanette provided me, I think it would be harder now.
I got into the program and I realized, like, oh, this is nice. And now look at me, I work at a family resource center with parents and families, all this stuff.
I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity to meet my home visitor, because without her, I think that I would be 10 steps behind from where I'm at right now.
Pero pues aquí pues ya los enseñan un poquito más cosas que uno no sabía. Cómo cuidarla, cómo desarrollarla, cómo educarla, y pues es algo bien, porque pues cosas que yo no sabía, pues ya usted nos las dijo y todo como consejos, y pues muchas cosas que se aprendieron.
'Cause I don't know what's normal for a 22-month-old baby or an 18-month-old baby, you know. When we get together, we usually discuss and get some progress made with the baby. It makes me feel comfortable, and I associate my parenting with her, my home visitor, telling me, yeah, this is going great.
So it's nice to know where they're at, what stage they're at for every parent, and also to give, again, your children that head start in education.
If I had any questions with her, just call her up on the phone. You know, it was very relatable, very personal. And, you know, with her getting to know my kids, you know, she got to kind of help guide me along the way. I mean, there were so many cool things that I've learned.
I went from a very like rough type of life. I was homeless, and she was able to help me get into school, and I actually have enough credits to graduate with the business degree right now.
I think I really want to mention just that I'm grateful that I took advantage, because it's something that has put me in touch with my child, or closer to my child and her development.
I want other people and parents to know that the home visiting is not something that you should be afraid of. It's actually something that is needed.
You know, because she's not just here for her, she's here to help with all of it. She helped me create a safe space where I feel comfortable enough to ask for help.
Don't be afraid to take that step. Like, don't be afraid to get help. It's always okay to have extra support.
I would say, give it a try. You got nothing to lose. It's free. There's some perks, you know. They got some great resources.
Personally, I think everybody could benefit from the home visiting programs.
I realized that my life was going to change dramatically in ways that I did not know or understand or even comprehend. I was going to have to really go to the well and become accountable and adjust to a lot of things differently.
Que queríamos era que naciera, ya, sí, ya quiero tener, entonces ahorita lo que tenemos es aprovecharla, quererla y cuidarla lo más que se pueda.
Creo que a todos nos preocupa la primera vez que nos dicen que vamos a ser padres.
When we started the program, my daughter was about 3 months, and my daughter's 22 months now. Something I love about my child, that she's healthy, she's happy, she knows that she's cared for and loved. Those are some of the things that I wanted to make sure that she had, and she has them.
I'm happy today with my daughter. She's the greatest thing in my life, and I'm glad to wake up and see her, and everything I do it for her.
Sí, bueno, yo también vengo de una familia separada. Creo que por eso también me motiva a estar más presente con él, de quizás también estar de la forma quizás que yo no la tuve para Máximo, y también comprender que el padre no solo es el que pone los límites y las reglas, sino que también está ahí para hablar, acompañar, regalonear, jugar, cosas lindas también, no solo ser el guía para el niño, sino que también un compañero de vida.
I was more of elated and thankful, because for 3 months I was in baby land. And when you're in baby world, you're You're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants and hoping that you're just supportive in the ways that you can be supportive.
Pero pues aquí pues ya los enseñan un poquito más cosas que uno no sabía. Cómo cuidarla, cómo desarrollarla, cómo educarla, y pues es algo bien porque pues cosas que yo no sabía, pues ya usted nos las dijo y todo como consejos, y pues muchas cosas que se aprendieron.
Bueno, creo que por mi parte esperaba algo totalmente diferente, como un programa más frío, por decir algo, no tan cercano a la familia, sino más bien un programa de estado programado para la ayuda solamente. Y a través del programa nos hemos dado cuenta que también pasa a ser una familia con nosotros, porque nos apoya en los momentos difíciles o cuando nos hemos visto en dificultades. Siempre nos hemos podido apoyar en Gaby a través de su programa. Encuentro que ha sido fundamental el apoyo.
My experience has been nothing but positive. Annette has been wonderful. She's on time. She lets me know if there's going to be any changes in the schedule.
Not only did we get the assistance with this program, but we also made a really good
Reporting
friend.
out of closed session, that direction was given, and the meeting is adjourned.